is up, my friends? It's been one long year. A lot has happened, right? I mean, if I gotta say, this is probably one of those busy years of my life. Not only did I start 2 companies, not only did I get married, not only did I speak 6, 7, 8 times, but right, we went through a lot of changes together. Our opinions changed, our math got different, the economy, right? Who would have expected the downturn that it took and how it would actually impact us? And one thing I love about what I do is I have learned so much from my interactions with all of you and from my clients, right? Sometimes you can learn from others. So I want to stay accountable to who I am. And one of the things that I've tried so hard to do was make sure I didn't get stuck in my ways of thinking, because opinions can change, ideas can change, strategies can change, right? You can start to figure out quite a bit of who you are and what you want to be and what outcomes that you want to achieve. They change over time. And if there's one thing that, when I was younger, I could never stand, it was someone trying to say, you had to do it this way. So, right, after running a couple of MSPs, building an MSP consulting firm, right, Sierra Pacific Group, and just always being immersed in this community, I want to make sure that I'm always committed to changing my perspectives, to make sure that we're always looking for growth and success. So I wanted to do this video because a lot of people like to look in the crystal ball. Where is 2024 going to be? And it doesn't help anybody, right? You guys have seen my take on benchmarks. At the end of the day, they're self-reported systems. We can't use it to drive us. But what I think might be more beneficial is, what have I learned about the MSP channel this year that either got reaffirmed as brand new, or where did my opinions change? So I want to look at 2023. What are my 5 big takeaways? Roll the rad intro. Guys, we're getting older, wiser, more gray hair, more dope empath t-shirts. How rad is this? I mean, come on, limited edition. Right, I want to go through the top 5 takeaways I have about MSPs from 2023. And I'm going to make this a quick video. So if any of these topics, you're like, hey, Kyle, can you go deeper into this, right? Let me know in the comments. Let me know if I got anything completely wrong from your own opinion, right? Because these are 100% just how I feel. So without further ado, in the 5th spot, vCIO has gone a bit blown out of proportion, if you ask me.
Let's not blow this out of proportion.
Oops, I said it. Now, this one may not come as a shock, right? As Alex and I did a whole elephant in the room episode on this exact topic, but it really has been affirmed more and more and more and more. Now, you see, as I've gone down my own path and learning what vCIO could be or should be, most times out of none, it is just a glorified technical account manager. And it's usually delivered by an underqualified engineer who's masquerading as an executive without much vision or direction. Now, I know that may be hard to hear, and I know many of you have goals to become true fractional C-suite and executives. But the reality is, most of us as MSPs don't have the ability to bring that level of person on staff. And I've said it before, in business, you either are the product, right? You bill your time, whether that's all you can eat or as some type of consulting engagement. You're looking for new revenue, right? You have a quota, or you are support the organization, right? You are a utilized employee. Your salary grows with gross profit, not with revenue. Now, when you really break this down, right, you have a business model to where they need to be fair and they need to work with the customer for their own goals. The only way they can do that is through revenue. Because if you have a quota, and at the end of the month, I'm going to get fired if I don't fill that quota, am I really going to be that honest with the customer? No. So where did we learn a lot of this from, right? Fractional CFOs, lawyers, big consulting firms like McKinsey and Deloitte, right? They work in a consulting model. Now, that is a completely different model than managed services, right? Which is economy of scale, where you need to get your prices down. So when you really look at this, right, I've asked plenty of MSPs this year, right? Point to where the revenue for vCIO comes into play. A lot of them would point to their all-you-can-eat contract, and I said, great, what is the percentage or dollar per seat that goes towards vCIO? And their minds would blow. So, and another one, I recently asked a few MSPs how much time was budgeted in their all-you-can-eat agreements, and they also didn't have an answer. So it's this lack of scalability in the vCIO product, and it's a true idea of what their vCIO product is or could be that is just not there. Now, quick test for you to see, hey, am I in this boat as well, is show me where on the P&L is the revenue for your vCIO services to be a true fractional C-suite, and does that scale? And is there a point in time where you go, hey, I gotta hire another vCIO because they're billing 89% of their hours, and 89% of their hours is bringing in X dollars of revenue and profitability to then be able to pay a sales executive to go find more vCIO clients. Anywho, give me your thoughts on this one. I've pretty much beaten the horse on this one. So, number 4 for where my head is around MSPs in 2023 is all-you-can-eat agreements, and MSP is starting to become a commodity in this market, yet many are not strategizing around this. And we joke, right? There's a lot of coaches and thought leaders out there saying double or triple your per seat MSP price, and they're getting into some ridiculous $300, $400, $500 per seat type of analysis. Now, when you look into a lot of this and we go, hey, we've got a downturn economy where people are trying to save money, right? The majority of the small business sector is, look at all the layoffs that are happening. We have to come to terms with, well, people want to save money. Therefore, if I raise my cost per seat and I become competitive or more money than the internal IT guy, there's a chance they're not going to go with my agreement. They're just going to keep the internal guy. And no one's really strategizing around how to differentiate other than looking like a bigger nerd than each other. And I'll say it 1,000 different times.
I mean, a man can only take so many wedgies before he goes to pieces.
So when items become a commodity and competition is stiff, you need to focus on your go-to-market strategy that usually encompasses having a bigger pond efficient or getting your price down further. And you knew I was going to say it, strategy around that economy of scale. Now, I did see a massive uptick in conversations this year around offshoring. And so I know there are those out there that are starting to do this, but I still haven't seen a true go-to-market strategy that's attached to it. For example, right, what I would expect to hear is we want our MSP offering to hit a target of $120 user a month by 2026. It's strategies like this that allow you to compete in a crowded marketplace, but with also maintaining your needed margins. And where I came to this idea was the fact that there is an inventory issue in the M&A market, and right now we're at around 60,000 MSPs in the United States. So by that virtue, right, a lot of MSPs, not many of them are starting to consolidate, so I need to stick out further in the crowd. And guys, by the way, marketing will not solve this problem for you. So if you're established, you need to have a better prices and higher quality. It's a fantastic topic, maybe a video for a different day. Number 3 on what MSP topics kept me awake at night is the unspoken costs and risks that managed security products bear on the MSP market. Now, this one is a little controversial, and I'm going to take this one a little slower than the rest. But this one really hit home for me in 2 examples that truly had me upset at our market. First, and they were both my clients, by the way, full disclosure. And one of them was a client that I coached where they really needed an outsourced MSP product for their security services. Now, right, most of us know this is an outsourced SOC. Sometimes it's managed EDR, managed SIM. It goes by a million different names. Now, when they needed this, it was one particular use case for one particular client. I'm going to just put it out there. But from there, that product had all of the boastings in the world about their SOC process. By the way, this is a product that a lot of you may use, and how much margin they would add to their MSP tech stack, right? They were talking about margin from the product. Well, once it got deployed, hastily, mind you, the amount of tickets that SOC started to escalate to the MSP's NOC was much more than they had anticipated. Meaning their clients' all-you-can-eat agreement slowly turned upside down due to the SOC's inability to truly have a tier 2 analyst review the incidents before handing the issue to the NOC. We measured it as high as 7 to 10 hours per month per client in new incidents hitting their NOC. Meaning to get the client right-sided in the eyes of the MSP, they would need to either adjust their security product to include added help desk time or increase their all-you-can-eat agreements by a certain dollar per user per month. Now, while this may seem no duh, in the moment when they're trying to, right, they're completely cognizant to the cyber footprint that's out there, right? They needed something to check the box real fast. And if we don't do the right due diligence on what our cybersecurity product is, it is very easy to completely go upside down on your clients, which creates a very interesting relationship when you know you need to protect their attack surfaces, but at the same time, you're losing all the money on the client. So how do we, right, navigate this process? And when you talk to the managed SOC companies, oh, but you're making 100% on the per user per price cost. They don't really care at the tier 2 level. It just goes straight to you. Now in this, right, a managed SOC is still only reviewing incidents at a tier 1 or less level. You have to be the tier 2 for your SOC. And if you don't have any cybersecurity experts on your team, right, do the math. Like, you will have to do the deep investigation to say, was it a false positive? Was it something we need to go ahead and whitelist? Or is it something we need to whitelist? Is it something we need to blacklist? Do I truly need to wake the client up out of bed? Right? And if you don't have that talent, you may not know what you're looking for, which means you may escalate more incidents than a normal SOC would. Now, I also had this happen at another client of mine where they had a client that was successfully phished and their 365 environment was compromised, but the managed SOC really just backed away after the incident. They didn't help with IR, they didn't assist with forensics, and the tools the SOC used really were inaccessible to the MSP for any deeper investigation. So they had to go out and basically buy a tool to do the investigation after the SOC had kicked it over to them. So it really didn't save them much time at that time of attack. Now, this ended up not being too messy compared to how it sounds, but they had to dump an additional 10 hours into this incident that, compared to the MSSP that I operated in 2017, really would have only been 2 to 3 hours of an IR case handled by a true SOC. But at the end of the day, right, those are things that we need to keep in mind when we're adding cybersecurity services. But where does this go? Right, my thought is when it comes to cybersecurity go-to-market strategies and product development, and right, if you haven't seen my video on product development, go take a watch for next year. Take your time and build a real offering. Just because the client is upset or they're asking for it or there's a right need right now, right, you don't have the manpower to truly build the product, which is then just going to open up risk because now you're going to tell a promise to your customer that you can do something that eventually you can't do because you never spent the time to go build it. So this is where services like real friendly MSSPs like Orbital Fire, where you can buy your clients peace of mind while you mature into having your own team, becomes so important. And if you want to, go rewatch that Elephant in the Room episode where we had Wes on and we talked about that MSSP maturity stage if you are an MSP and when is the right time to build that. Now, in the number 2 slot, right, and we're getting down to the wire here, automation does not have the ROI that you think it does.
You like jokes. Your joke is you're losing money.
Ooh. Now, this is a fun one. Because if I go back to when I bought Automate in 2011, 2010-ish, or if I go back to when I built Sierra Pacific Group's RMM monitoring services, right, where we would offer consultants for a flat fee, basically an MSP for RMMs, right, I saw this every single day and it's just getting worse and worse. I could do an entire episode on this topic and maybe it's a good Elephant in the Room episode where we could bring some actual RMM consultants on to kind of talk about what at an expert level these investments look like. But essentially with the popular uprise in RPA tools and the everlasting obsession with our RMM tools, a lot of MSPs have a blind trust in that their automation tool investments are bringing simplicity into their business, therefore increasing margin. However, when I question a lot of these MSPs on how they measure ROI or time saved, I've only ever heard 2 MSPs that have a documented process to measure this, right? Where I could say, hey, how much time did you spend writing scripts for your RMM last month? They actually had an answer or could point to the data. And another fun question I was asking at IT Nation quite a bit was, what specific use case drove you to purchasing an RPA, right? What made you go, oh, the only way we fix this problem is with this product? No one answered that one. They all kind of bought it from the marketing of the provider and not having a specific need for their business. It was, oh, we'll find a way to make an ROI from it, but there was no strategy behind it. And trust me, when we were building out the RMM consulting wing at Sierra Pacific Group, we had customers left and right showing us the immaturity of these tools they'd be paying thousands of dollars per month on. not gonna lie, when you get to that, anything over 2,500 endpoints per month, right, you're spending a significant amount of money, which means I need a real significant amount of ROI to justify that cost. Now, simply put, these tools require a genius level of understanding to manage and deploy, and RPA is a whole other level on top of RMM. And using my past as an example, we would normally reach anywhere between 20 to 40 hours from an expert to successfully implement these tools. And by that stretch, an unfamiliar engineer could be 2 to 4 times that amount, right? Think about that. They could be spending 200 hours over 6, 9, 4 years trying to implement these products. But that's not reality, right? Because we stretch it out, we ignore it, we just don't get to it. So let's say that over 4 to 6 months, with engineer time, tool cost, time for your team to take all the courses of this tool, you could be in an implementation of just buying the tool, just hitting go, $12,000 to $15,000 just to start using the tool. Now, if we think about this in terms of ROI, that means that this tool would need to save you 375 hours of a $65,000 a year engineer just to break even. So if that tool that's going to cost you 15 grand to implement isn't going to save you 375 hours in the first 2 to 3 years, why the hell do you need it? And then add the fact that to build new automation, you either need a $3,000 a month consulting plan or a tier 3 engineer, right? A $10,000 a month cost to create said automation. And simply put, if a $3,000 service netted you one piece of automation per month, that automation would need to save you 75 hours to break even. See, there's a lot of time that you have to save to get ROI. This compounds and it compounds and it compounds every month that you truly do not keep a finger on the pulse. And there's actually a really good example out there, and I'm not going to name names, of a very large PE-funded MSP that started from the idea of we will be 100% automation focused to try to get our cost per user per month for the end clients down to a bottom dollar, where they're not doing too great right now. What they have done is burned through much of their investment running just to try to get this automation to work. So you have to ask yourself, right, where am I going to break even from this tool? So what's happening? At the end of the day, the TLDR, right, we get sucked in by the tech. It's cool, it's fancy, it's got bells and whistles, we want to touch it all, right? They enamor us with the promise of it'll replace a tier 1 engineer, but then it costs us a consultant or a tier 3 engineer to implement and manage it. So we go from a tier 1 engineer to a tool plus a tier 3 engineer. Or we just don't configure it and pay its costs and just watch our margin burn up in the atmosphere. Now, I'm going to stop right there before I go down this rabbit hole, because I could talk about this all day. I could build Excel sheets. I have Excel sheets actually that I can show you the time to ROI for buying automation tools, but I didn't want to do it on this video because we would be here all day. Now, there are 2 honorable mentions that I wanted to bring before we get to the number 1 slot. And these are 2 things I just wanted to mention, but not really go deep, as they're the same thoughts that I've had for the last couple years. I just wanted to say it out loud, which is the first one, MSPs just have too many people on staff. We're just too quick to hiring, and we don't maximize the efficiencies of our teams that we have. This could be from accountability problems. This could be from training problems. This could be from, right, just not having a finger on the pulse of our business and looking at scale and making sure our sales are consistent to necessitate the entire new hire, right? But this is just a constant, and we got to keep a finger on the pulse because it is our largest cost center. Number 2, MSPs need to start falling in love with their business and not their product. I see so often where MSPs are so tied and in love with the product that they deliver their customers that they become blinded to the results that they're netting, and it starts to burn up in the client and employee experience. And we start to make all these justifications of put more and more and more and more into that agreement, till it gets to the point where you can never truly make profit on it, because then you become afraid of telling the customer that you've overly bloated their agreement and they need to pay you more money. And then your team suffers because you can never give them a raise. So just keep those 2 things in mind as you're going into next year, right? When you're building those budgets, by the way, they're due about now. Go watch my video if you want to go double check on your budgeting strategies. But right, I've beaten this horse over, but a lot of videos, you can go watch all that crap. But guys, we're here, everyone. We are at the number 1 thing I've learned about the MSP business in 2023. That is 100% my opinion, but also pretty damn close to the reality. I feel like I got a pretty good feel on us these days, which is MSPs are sales-led organization. Marketing is just a waste of our time.
I want you to get out there and sell, sell, sell!
Ooh, I probably reeled you in on this one. So, quick education session. There are 4 types of business growth strategies when you are looking at how you are going to grow. Very first and foremost is founder-led growth. Good example of this, Elon Musk, right? I saw him post on social media or his podcast or a video, and he had a cool product that his company built. Therefore, I want to buy it. That's founder-led growth. 2, product-led growth. Great example, HubSpot, which means I found their website somehow, word of mouth, SEO, and on the website, I can just buy it. I don't have to do a demo. I don't have to talk to a sales rep. I don't see any ads on other websites or commercials. I just click and go, and I'm in the tool, freemium model or some trial mode, like that's just completely unhinged. I can use it all, but it allows me instantly to use the product to decide if I want to buy it. 3rd, marketing-led growth. Great example, Verizon, retail, big enterprise, right? I saw their billboard, I saw their commercial. Back in my Best Buy days, right? We would have ads in the Sunday papers. I knew exactly what I wanted to buy from that company before I got there, right? I did not have to have someone consult with me to tell me what I wanted to buy, which leads us to the 4th growth strategy in business, which is sales-led growth, right? Professional services, value-added resellers, car salesmen, MSPs, which is the point of my number 1, right? Someone had to help me identify my problem and then presented a solution that would help me with said problem, right? Call it consultative selling, call it whatever you want. At the end of the day, our customers cannot just buy from us without talking to us. And it was in this investigation, I happened to be working with a couple very fast growing MSPs that were growing organically. And when I say fast, it was beyond 30% year over year with no acquisitions. And one thing that I noticed was they were spending less than 1% of their revenue on marketing. And that's 1% was really going towards events, memberships, right? Getting the sales team's foot in the door. And what was also common in these MSPs is their sales team were obsessed with activity and connecting with leads and prospects. It was about volume of conversations that they could control the flow of, right? I pick up the phone, I have a conversation. So, whereas with marketing, you were at the mercy of SEO, social media, right? Those eyeballs wanting to engage with you, filling out a form, for example. Now, this isn't to say marketing doesn't work. It completely works. It just requires mass volume and energy, lots of money, to really make it work. Go look at the value of what true marketing agencies run. You'll spend $8,000 to $10,000 a month just on their assistance, and that does not include ads, pay-per-click, copywriting, strategy, and this also doesn't include the 4 to 5 month lead time it takes for your strategy to actually come full term and net you with MQLs. And I say this out of experience, by the way. At Sierra Pacific Group, there was a brief window where we were doing MSP marketing, where we would build their ads, their blog articles, their LinkedIn messaging, et cetera, et cetera. And on average, it would take 4 to 6 months for MQLs to come in. And also it would take 2 to 3 months just to figure out the targeting, the ideal client profile, the target, the total addressable market, the avatar, the phrasing, the brand recognition stuff. And it just took so much time. And what happened? MSPs got upset saying, where are my leads? And we didn't have anything to show, even though we told them every single day, don't expect a lead for 6 months. Why? You're burning an insane amount of money. And at some point as MSPs, we don't have money to burn, right? When we're on average operating 8 to 10% net profit, a lot of us haven't built the gross margin to completely take that. So until you become a scale to where marketing is something you can burn, right? We got to ask ourselves, how much control of our destiny in sales and revenue growth do I want to control? Now, here's another thing. With sales-led growth, you have a direct pulse and control on how your activity goes, so you are able to tweak on the fly. For example, your conversion rate from first-time appointment to proposal is a little low. Tweak the first-time appointment conversation, right? Your SQL phase, right? Your sales qualified leads from first call to first-time appointment, it's low. Well, do more role plays, tweak the script, right? You're able to really go directly into what is happening. And to be fair, you're going to have to build out these sales strategies anyways, because MSP marketing efforts do not net and close purchases like a retail example. So, right, you have to say, if I got to build this anyway, maybe I double down on just more activity on the sales side to begin with. And the MQL has to be handed off to a sales rep to consult the client on what they want to buy in a first-time appointment. So, right, it's inevitable. Work on it. And keep this in mind, right? Google and Microsoft are changing their spam algorithms in February. They will be the most aggressive they have ever been. So how much activity is going to be even more worthless when it comes to email, inbound, like newsletter type activities? Personally, if I was starting an MSP again, one of my first critical hires would be a business development rep to just obsess about booking me appointments. As they grow, I would tweak the messaging. And like Adam Slutskin taught Alex and I on Elephant in the Room, right? Promote that BDR eventually to an account executive, right? That hunter, so that they then can work with the BDR that you bring in for them. And now you're sitting there building a system based off of what works, a little bit of at the hip training, but also a lot of bit of, right? You're giving a career path. You're not just starting somebody off at tier 3 sales rep, you're starting them off at tier 1 sales rep. Just rinse, repeat.
The one word that makes it all possible, and that word is sell.
That's my top 5 list, right? At the end of the day, let's run through it again, right? We have vCIO has gotten blown out of proportion. All you can eat agreements are becoming a commodity, right? Managed MDR and SOC services have a massive unspoken cost and risk. Automation does not have the ROI that you were sold on, and MSPs are sales-led organizations. So I want to take this moment just to say everyone that watches my videos, that's been leaving comments, that's been supporting me over the last year as I've really kicked up my own vulnerable process of, right, speaking out to all of you, thank you. Like, this has been extremely encouraging. I hope these videos still have immense value. And this is the type of stuff that we really are trying to drive home with Empath. This is why I'm throwing a lot of my coaching success out the window, because I believe in this so damn much. And I could only have done this and had this level of confidence if it was for you guys, right? You guys gave me the inspiration to go, there's a better way to do this. Let's disrupt this whole thought leadership and consulting market, and let's build an education system to where we can all figure out how to do it ourselves so I can truly grow and scale my business. With that being said, guys, leave comments in the below. If you have any topics that you would like me to cover or really deep dive from these 5, let me know that as well. But other than that, you guys are all fantastic. Stay accountable and have a great New Year's.